And I'll ask again, where is President Trump? Well, he spent the morning denying reality and spewing false information on his favorite TV network, Fox News.
The whole world is watching, and nobody can believe what they're saying. And you have leaders of countries that call me and say, that's the most messed up election we've ever seen.
With me now to talk more about this nearly hour-long rambling, delusional Trump interview is journalist Carl Bernstein, a CNN political analyst, and Brian Stelter, CNN's chief media correspondent and host of Reliable Sources. Welcome to you both. Carl, let me start with you and get your reaction to what you heard from the president today, who is unable and unwilling to face reality.
It's delusional. It's ranting. It's consistent with what people in the White House are telling me and others about his state of mind at the present and going back for a while, which is anything but stable in their view. But I think we need to look at another deeper question. You just started this by saying his favorite network about Fox. Interestingly, Fox is no longer his favorite network.
That's
and
true.
The reason is that even Fox has been reporting some of the reality of Trump's own unreality. And so all of his war on the truth, which has been the hallmark and the most basic aspect, his lying of his presidency, has now even been noted by Fox News. And what has he done? He has left Fox News, except for this one favored anchor of his, who conducted this incredibly delusional interview. But Trump said one interesting thing, and I'm going to quote Donald Trump. He said, "We don't have freedom of the press in this country. We have suppression of the press. You can't have a scandal if no one reports it." The fact is, the scandal is being reported. It's being reported all over, including even occasionally by Fox News. And that scandal is the presidency, sensibility, mindset, lying, con job of Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States. That's the reality that he has met with a war on the truth for 4 years that has been very successful.
You talk about this favorite news anchor for President Trump, Fox host Maria Bartiromo. There's a reason for that, because as we saw during this interview, she wasn't pushing back at all against any of the president's false claims, disinformation. I mean, they were basically flat out lies, Brian. And she also agreed with pretty much everything President Trump said, and even at times encouraged him. Is Fox News complicit in spreading false and misleading information by giving the president this kind of platform? And let's talk also about Maria Bartiromo, because I used to watch her when she was doing business news, and she had a pretty good reputation.
Yeah, she was an acclaimed journalist. She knew how to ask all the right follow-up questions, but she's given up on all those skills. She still has them probably somewhere, but doesn't use them when she's interviewing Trump. She did not ask the necessary follow-up questions in response to the president's lies. And she took his claims very seriously, even though they make no sense. Look, delusion is the word. Sadly, it's a very it's an ugly word, but this is an ugly moment where Trump is backsliding. You know, rather than starting to get through the 5 stages of grief, he's actually backsliding, digging in deeper. And I think we have to ask, why is that? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the audience. Carl's right that parts of Fox News are reporting the news, are moving on, covering the Biden transition. But there are these popular talk shows on Fox that still perform for the president. They are sycophants for the president. And those are the highest rated shows, by far, on Fox News. That indicates to me that the hard right base, the Trump base, wants the propaganda. They want the lies. They want to believe the election's not over. They want to believe in voter fraud and all these other crazy things that have been blasted out of courts from coast to coast. They want to believe, and Trump wants them to believe. So I think what he's doing is putting on a show for an audience that wants to be told they didn't lose. And obviously he can't come to grips with the term loser. But there's an audience out there that wants to believe these lies. And that's probably the deeper issue that the country has to grapple with, and frankly, that the Biden transition team has to grapple with.
Yeah, Carl, I mean, about the only brief moments of clarity, really, during the rambling interview came when the president admitted that he may not have a legal path to overturning the election. He and his lawyers had suffered losses, dozens of them, over 30 we've counted in court, and he admitted that his court cases may not reach the Supreme Court. Here he is talking about that.
Can you imagine Donald Trump, president of the United States, files a case And I probably can't get a case, even with, and we have tremendous proof. We have hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, sworn affidavits, and it's very hard to get a case to the Supreme Court.
Is there a path to victory?
Dominion. Yeah, I hope so.
The fact that they're even talking about, is there a path to victory when it's clearly over, Carl? We have a president who refuses to concede, and his ardent supporters who believe that this election was rigged. Just big picture here, Carl. I mean, what does this do to our democracy and to the fact that this country every 4 years or every couple of years carries out free and fair elections?
Look, Donald Trump has undermined our democratic institutions, and especially our free electoral system, the election, and particularly the President of the United States, which is absolutely the bedrock of our democracy, and he has undermined it. But I think we need a wider lens on all of this discussion of untruth. If it were up to me, I don't even think I would have run the clip that we just put up on the air, because once again, it furthers his lies and gives them voice when we know what he's saying is not true. But there's a much larger question here. We have been what was a cold civil war, a cold cultural civil war in this country that's gone on for 15, 20, 25 years. Donald Trump has brought it to the point of ignition, poured fuel on the fire, and we now are in a conflagration. But in looking at that, we have to acknowledge that going back to the beginnings of talk radio, particularly right-wing talk radio, that there has been increasingly disinterest in the best obtainable version of the truth, which really is what good reporting, good journalism is. And as Brian has suggested, people, and this is not limited to Donald Trump supporters, people increasingly over the last 20, 25 years have been looking for information in the media that reinforces what they already believe, rather than looking and being open to the best obtainable version of the truth. And what has happened in the Trump presidency is that this has been taken by his acolytes and supporters to a point where the mentality, the repertorial mentality even of supermarket tabloids has come, not just Murdochism, but absolutely wildly insane, total untruth has come to be the dominant media message for those people who follow Donald Trump and are his base. And that's the situation that we're left in. And what we in the press need to start looking at is there a way that we can somehow open up for all the people of America, once again, a willingness to look at and accept the best obtainable version of the truth. And in the era of social media and the divide that Trump has so skillfully exploited, I'm not sure that how possible it is that we can change this horrible war on truth, which always, truth is the first casualty of war. And that is what Donald Trump has done.
Very scary times. Brian, what can we expect, you think, the next couple of months up until Inauguration Day, especially knowing, what President Trump has done to delay the transition? And we know in the past, foreign adversaries have taken advantage of this vulnerable time of transition, knowing that America is preoccupied, especially right now.
Right. We're going to see more announcements by Biden, more pouting by Trump, more calls to friendly outlets in order to advance this narrative. It's partly about a grift. It's partly about fundraising. He wants to raise money in order to pay off campaign debts and be able to build maybe a new media apparatus in the coming year. Judging by the number of fundraising emails Trump is sending out, it's not going very well. They're getting more and more and more desperate. But here's one thing I am struck by, and this may sound a little more positive. If you would imagine 3 weeks after Trump wouldn't admit defeat, what do you think was going to happen? Would there be rallies? Would there be unrest? Would Trump supporters be out there in MAGA caravans and on boat tours, riding across the country, shutting down highways, the way we saw right before Election Day? We've not seen that. I actually think even many Trump voters are over it. They're tired. They're done. They want to move on. They might say in polls that they believe the election was rigged. But do they really believe it, or are they just supporting the person they voted for? I actually think the lack of popular interest and protests and rallies and marches and caravans, it signals to me that even if people are buying some of what Trump is selling, they're not that interested anymore. They might be over it.